Let's look at a type of 5-marker question. It involves geometry, but it also involves equations involving x. It asks you to find x. Five marks. It's 5 marks. You are not just going to write down the answer to this one. You're going to work hard. First of all, well, after x and y, we've got this. We know these are going to add up to 180, so that's good. And we also know the internal angles are going to add up to 360. So think first, polygon rules, angles add up to 360, features of the shape, external and internal, find equations, solve equations. So the internal total is size minus 2 times 180. It's equal to 360. I always think of a square when I see 4 sides, and that's obviously 360. So we tot up all of the angles on the inside. So we start from here, x plus 75, 85, x plus 70, and that equals 360. Well, let's gather terms. 290 plus 2x equals 360. Subtract 290, 2x equals 70. Divide by 2, x equals 35. Right, so that's our x, and we have this, that x plus 70 plus y is equal to 180. X plus 70 plus y is 180. Well, we have an x is 35, so that's 105 plus y. We'll take 105 off. Y equals 75. For 5 marks. Pretty good, isn't it? That's a good reward for a bit of effort. Let's just check it. Do the x and y satisfy the original conditions? Well, let's add everything up. 60 plus what is x? 35, 75, an 85 and an x and a 70 equals 360. And then we come here, we've got 35 plus 70 plus 75 equals 180. That looks good to me. We get a mark so easily here. Look, they come thick and fast. We get a mark for that first big equation. We get a mark. We get 3 marks for getting x, then for getting the second equation, then for finding y. It is a rodeo of marks. Let's make sure we pick them all up. What did we do? We had a think. We did some calculations. And you know me, I always like a check. Second example. Oh, now we have a parallelogram. So we will have a think about the polygon rules. We'll think about the features of the shape. We'll find equations and we'll solve them. My first thought is add up all the angles going all the way around. So 5x plus 40, we've got y plus 35, 6x plus 20, and another y plus 35, 360. One equation, 2 variables isn't going to get us very far. But notice without really thinking, I put y plus 30 here and I put a y plus 30 for this angle because these opposite angles are the same. Well, in that case, these angles are the same, and therefore 5x plus 40 equals 6x plus 20. This has one variable in it, x, and I can solve that. Minus 5x gives me 40 equals x plus 20, minus 20. X is equal to 20. That's a nice result. So now I can go back to this one. I've got 5 and I've got 6x, so that's 11x. I've got y and y, 2 y's, and I add up all this lot, and that gives me 130. So this is useful now because I've got x. x is 20, so 11 times x is 220 plus 2y is, I've taken away the 130 from this side, so that's 230, and I take away the 220 to give me 2y equals 10, or y equals 5. Nice, 5 marks. It really is just about attitude, I think, some of these questions. Knowing that these two are the same, blasting out the answer. Of course, we're going to check it. So do x and y satisfy the original conditions? Well, does that equal that if x equals 20? 5 times 20 plus 30 equals 6 times 20 plus 20. Yes, it does. And the other big equation, which is which one? Oh, I know what I've said. These two angles here are allied. Because that line and that line are parallel, these two angles are going to equal 180. So 6 times 20 plus 20, and then y is 20, plus 20, and y is 5 plus 35 equals 180. So that's a check. An independent check on the y, and it does, so that's right. And there are the marks. Pretty good. You get 2 marks for getting x. You get 3 marks for getting y, because it's a bit more tricky. Sometimes I don't understand the marking, but it works. So, what do? I have a think, I do some calculations, and I do a check. If I was to think about what do I look at first with a question like this? Well, step 1, I have a think, and I go 3 rules of polygons. If there's a polygon in the diagram, which there often is, and then the features of the shape. Which angles are equal to which angles? That helps me drive some equations. So step 2 is to find those equations, and then step 3 obviously to solve the equations, and then a check. These 2 rules will get you most of the way through these questions. So pause and practice. Here's one for you. I'll leave you a few moments. I'll probably just count down from 5 and then I'll give you the answer. So please pause the video and give it a go. Right, well, let's see how we got on. Obviously we have a think, 3 polygon rules, features of the shape. Well, this is an isosceles. We love triangles. Total internal angles is 180, and as it's an isosceles, that angle is equal to that angle. We find the equations and solve the equations. Right, well, this angle equals this angle, so we know that 2x plus 10 equals x plus 40, or subtracting 10, x plus 10 equals 40, minus 10, x equals 30. Probably got a couple of points for that, but now x equals 30, the total for these angles is equal to 180, so I can write them all out. Or I can do it this way, 2x minus y, which is this, is equal to 180 minus twice this. I can just do 1, that's the simplest one, isn't it? X plus 40 is 70, and this is 2x, so we know what x is, so that's 60 minus y equals 180 minus 2 times 70, which is 140. Looks like, what will I do? Oh, I'll add y to both sides, which will take y across. 60 equals 40 plus y. I'll take away 40, 20 equals y. So I now have x and y. Game over. Bit tricky, but it's a screamer really when you're told that something is an isosceles and these angles are labelled like this, that angle equals that angle. That's why we're told it's an isosceles. Let's just check. Let's check the first equation, which is that and that. We're checking that x equals 30. 2 times 30 plus 10 equals 30 plus 40, where they both equal 70. Yes. And then let's have a look at the total. 5, well, I'm adding up the total of x's now. 2x, 2x and 2x, that's 5x. I'll add up the numbers now. We've got a 10 and we've got a 40, so that's plus 10 and plus 40. And I'm subtracting the minus y, and y is 20. 5 times 30, 150, 160, 200, minus 20, 180. That's all done. Here are the marks coming in. 2 for getting x equals 30. 1 for getting this sort of slightly more complicated equation, and then to get it right, the 5th mark. So have a think, take it easy, look for those equations, do the calculations, have a check. This is a tricky question. There's actually no other way of doing it than forming these equations. Obviously, some people try and guess, really. And that can end in tears and take an awful lot of time. But hopefully this method makes the question a little bit easier. So if you've enjoyed that, or even if you haven't enjoyed it but found it useful, why not subscribe? If you're having an exam soon, best of luck.